Welcome to the Law, Your Money and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts.
And I'm Camille Barron, a healthcare advisor and financial coordinator, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And Roberta, we are so fortunate today to have a first-time guest who is a big contributor to the town of Sharon.
That's right. It's Lieutenant Don Williams, and I got that right? And he recently retired.
Yes,
We're going to interview him because retired, but he still goes there. In fact, he's there now at the beautiful new police station that we have in Sharon. And he also is the president of the Sharon Rotary Club, and Rotary is worldwide. And he was instrumental in having 5 of our team members attend the Ryla camp, even though it was by Zoom this year. He's the first Rotary president to ever have accomplished that, and he let us help him. Welcome, Don. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, sure. As you said, my name is Don Williams. I'm spent most of my life right here in Sharon. Some would not say I was a townie, but I did start school here at 4th grade, originally from Stoughton. And I did graduate from Sharon High School, played some sports here, and through the great teachers and guidance counselors here, I ended up being able to go to Norwich University up in Vermont. And after that, I served in the military on active duty. I've helped to manage a retail store before, and I was able to get onto the Sharon Police Department in 1986, served here for 34 years, retired as a lieutenant. Still engaged in assisting with accreditation process, which is there's a national program, and then there's a program in Massachusetts, and I help the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission conduct assessments in police departments across the state. So, and as you mentioned, the Rotary Club, and there's a few other organizations here in town that we work with. So it's
are they? I got 2 questions. What are they, and what part of the military were you in? And then Camille got a question or 2 or 3.
So back in the day, it was an ROTC program. I signed contract in 1974, and you put in for what your branch. I always wanted to be a police officer. So when I went to school, my major was in government, but also I had an associate's program in criminal justice. And so, of course, I asked to go in the MPs in the military. And I actually think at personnel department, they take a dot and they throw it over their shoulder, and it lands on a bulletin board, and then they decide what branch you go. And I ended up in the infantry. So instead of going to Germany and MPs, I ended up in South Carolina in the infantry.
Oh boy.
But I don't regret any of that, because the infantry side of the Army is a bigger organization. It provided the opportunity for me to be able to serve in a capacity with different groups for a longer amount of time, because there's more of a need for officers in the infantry branch. So I have deployed 3 times overseas.
Where to?
I went to Iraq, and then Southwest Asia area, Kuwait, and did some advising work in that region in recent past years. And then I retired from the military in 2011. So I completed 34 years of active and reserve duty with them also.
Thank you for your service.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. There was another question you had, Roberta, about other organizations?
Oh yeah, what were the other organizations that you belong to?
Well, Rotary's has been a primary group right now, and but other groups that I affiliated with and serve serve in some leadership capacities with is the Sharon Historical Society, the VFW, the American Legion, Sharon Fish and Game Club.
Boy, everything.
Just trying to contribute the Maspog Yacht Club. So we're
do they make
pretty
clones
busy.
Of you? Did they make clones of you?
Yeah.
No, no, I don't think so, but I wish they would, have other people like yourselves. I mean, I've been watching your show for a long time. I've seen both of you speak before at other events and organizations I attended, and much appreciated of people like yourselves to be engaged and involved in the community and helping people out with information and all that you guys do. So I'd like to say thank you to you.
Sure.
Well, thank
And
you.
one of the most important outside organizations is that Don is also a member of the Law and Money and Use Advisory Board.
Yes.
And we're
yes,
so
yes,
pleased to
yes.
have him on that board, in addition to all the other things that you do, Don.
It should be
Thank
an
you.
easy transition because you've always been so kind to us. Now I know why. You've been always so kind to us and our little team members. I call them little when they're young, but some of them, they still remember the nice man, especially Zachary Chung, who did our first book. He was the one that did our first Police Officers Are Our Friends book, and we met with you, and you said you wanted, Tilden, the chief of police, wanted him on the back cover, and you kept him on the cover for the second book. And you were always there, always available. It was wonderful, really wonderful. And here we thought you just sat in the big room.
Thank you.
And tell people how many towns now we have done these police books for.
We've done them for, I believe, 24. And we even did one for the LAPD. And then some local politics or something got involved. I've been meaning to write to the fellow and to see how they're doing, because they had the real problem. The police have been having a real problem. Has the COVID affected what you do, or things like that you've seen?
Well, ironically, the timing of my retirement was really just prior to when COVID really hit hard. But because I still have a relationship and familiar with some of the operation stuffs here, it has had a big impact, in my opinion, on all the police departments. Because, I mean, obviously, if there's an emergency call or a request for assistance, the police have never stopped responding. I mean, they're still going to call, so they have to be, they have the risk of exposure potentially. But they had, across the state and the country, police departments took some mitigation steps and in the way they would do things, and the spacing and the personal protective equipment and masks and cleaning of the cruises. Even the manufacturers of the police cruisers now have a system that will cleanse the cruiser, because it goes up to a certain temperature for a period of time, enough that it helps disinfect it. So there's like the advances in technology that have actually, secondarily come out of, adjusting to the pandemic challenges. It's kind of impressive in some ways. It's sad that it's had the impact that it's had. And I believe the estimated loss of life in Massachusetts is like 18,000, which is essentially the population size of Sharon. But, there's a lot of resilience and a lot of, innovation, and, a lot of groups in town have taken steps and done things that have probably helped a lot of people. So, everybody's doing the best they can.
Yeah, we get watched all over the country. In fact, the world. We have one subscriber from Brazil.
And Don, it's COVID is one major thing that's changed the world, and I'm sure policing in the past few years. And then there's also the controversy surrounding police brutality and things of that nature. And of course, living in a smaller town, we probably don't experience some of those things. But can you tell us if in any way that aspect of policing has affected Sharon Police Department at all?
Yeah, I mean, what's what's kind of interesting is, statistically watching, the police application of enforcement and the way things are done. We for many years have been able to see statistical results across the country. And I like to say the Northeast has had, a relatively comparatively good record of, less loss of life by police officers. There's been a lot of innovative programs over the years. The community service aspects and policing techniques. It can vary across the country, but Northeast has got a pretty good record. It's always been into education, well-educated and trained officers, maybe more so than other parts of the country. And I'm not saying it's the best. It needs to be better, and there's more to be done. But to maybe more specifically to your question, Camille, is like when the reform bill came out, recently, there were some aspects and expectations in there, a new commission being formed, and some of the expectations when at the Sharon Police Department, when we started to look at the implementation and the wording of those standards, some of them were already in place because.
Can you tell us what the reform bill is, and is that Massachusetts or the federal government, or both?
Well, the reform bill I'm referring to right now is a Massachusetts reform bill in law enforcement, but it is sort of a national effort right now to, look for ways of improving police enforcement and, their deployment and in techniques and what the priorities are and all that. But it's always good to be looking at how you do things and if you can be doing them better. So I think that that goes back to the accreditation aspect. Accreditation is not a new concept. It's been around for a while, and there's a well-established accreditation program in Massachusetts. It's modeled after the CALIA program, which is a national program, and a lot of departments. The majority of departments now are in the accreditation process now. There's still some others in the state that are working on it, but all those departments that are well engaged in the accreditation process, a lot of these reform requirements, many of them, are already in place. So I think that's a good thing.
Can you tell us more about the accreditation process? What does accreditation really mean once it's implemented?
So, accreditation is based on best practices. And as I said, it's not a new program. They've looked at how things are done. It's all aspects of the department, whether it's administrative, use of force, communications, victim assistance. They've a lot of really smart people have pulled together and subject matter experts, and they've kind of created written standards for how police departments can best operate. And in Massachusetts, there's a certification step, and then there's a full accreditation, and there's numerous standards that have to be operationally in place. And then I say the second dimension to it is the compliance side. So it's not just the creating of a document that just has the words on it. It's actually the practice that the department is actually performing the expectations that the standards have in certain areas. So it's done on a 3-year cycle. What happens is the assesses the MPAC Commission, the Mass Police Accreditation Commission, is not a government agency. It had been at one time, and then it was separated out to be its own organization. So It is quite independent. And it has a professional staff on it and leadership within it and a standards committee. And they create these standard inspection forms. And then they have accreditation, inspectors in a sense, who go and form a team, and they go to each police department and they look through all the different aspects of how the departments run. They look to confirm that they have all the proper standards in place, and then look for verification, documentation, and so forth. That like if there's training requirements, they look to see that those are actually being met, and that records are being kept. And if it's victim assistance information, that they have all that they should have available. So it's quite thorough. But I like to say it doesn't allow for any shadowed areas. Like if sometimes leaders have favorite areas they like to operate in, and then there'll be other aspects of an organization that they just don't have the interest as much to look at as closely. So accreditation doesn't allow for any of that. It's like you have to be looking at all aspects of the department, whether it's property control, evidence control. All these things are very important, and accreditation expects that you meet the standards for all of that.
No idea. Had no idea. And
That's a
don't
big-
you have to? Don't they have to go for continuing education? A lot of education.
Yeah, there's so that's on the training side. There's training expectations, that there's a frequency of them. Some things have to be retrained annually. Others have to be trained on a 2-year cycle. And you have to keep records that this is all being done, and lesson plans. It's pretty involved.
Good.
One of the skills that has gotten such a high profile recently in the past couple of years, of course, is the use of force. And when you think about that, you have to admire a police officer who can think instantly, and it is essentially a judgment call when you're right on the spot and you're facing someone who's who could be a threat to your life. And how do you gauge what your response should be, and when is it appropriate that you take a more forceful measure? I'm sure that's got to be in the training, Don, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Not
And
totally.
so, and it just of notice that in part of my background is to be a firearms instructor and a trainer for police officers in the past, and also a taser, which is a device used. It's a force use device. I've been an instructor for that. So I'm familiar with the use of force, devices and training and so forth, and the requirements for it. But we also have added in no, it's not new, but we have a newer system here at the Sharon PD where you can do training, scenario training, whereas you just described, Camille, where officers are presented with different circumstances, and you may have seen this too. It's it's a video type circumstance, and you have different use of force options, and you're expected to respond appropriately, take the proper actions, and it's not meant to expect that force has to be used every time. It's they look to encourage for de-escalation. If you can avoid using force, that's always desirable. If you can, a lot of like time, like if you can use time to your advantage, distance, cover, it's just safer for everybody, the victim, the officer. So a lot of these techniques, they're like I said, they're not brand new. We've encouraged and trained for them in the past, and we're doing even more of that today. Then, so
Do you have like a lot of professions? They have that you're required to do so many credits each year. Do the police have that too, where the person's
So
required to take?
there is in that training side, that makes me think of our in-service programs where officers are expected to, annually recertify in certain subjects that the The state training council actually creates what those topics would be, and that some are repeatable, but sometimes they'll add a new topic in, and officers are required to attend this in-service training annually, and even the special police officers now have to attend the same training. So.
That's absolutely fascinating. I think we should move on to the Rotary part, although this is really fascinating. Did you have any more questions on the police, Camille?
No, I think it's very interesting.
I have a question though, because Sharon has a new police station, and I'm wondering if, do you meet with other towns and everything to see what they've tried or what they do with things? And I know that the equipment and the rooms, I've been through the Sharon Police Station, and the these the facility is just magnificent. And I know you said people can, I don't want to give you a rush on the rooms there, but can people have their meetings there?
There is a training room on the first floor, and that has been used on a number of times by different organizational committees in town. The building committee often frequently meets here at the public safety building, and we've held a number of different community meetings here too. So it's a great facility. I'm glad you mentioned of it. We like to express our appreciation, always had, to the public and the town of Sharon for putting this public safety building together. It's very, very much a great facility. So
Yeah, it is. Okay, let's get to the Rotary, because Rotary is worldwide, just as police are worldwide. Tell us about Rotary, and how did you get to be president, and how many years, and was your father a Rotarian, and your experience with the worldwide events?
well, I'm not necessarily the subject matter expert. You might want to reach out to a Dave Clifton or a Jerry Saphire or someone else who knows all of the fine details about Rotary. But I started Rotary in about 3 years ago, and I went to a membership meeting, and they had a little video on, and they were talking about polio, and they were talking about efforts to try to immunize children all around the world. And I had no idea that was such a big project for the Rotary organization. The Rotary started back in the, I guess, early 1900s or so. It actually has a seat at the UN Assembly.
Yes,
it really got going in the 1940s. That's quite an interesting history, and there are other organizations, among us. Also, the Lions Club and others that do great similar things internationally. But polio is like about a month and a half ago, the last report I heard, there was only 2 cases left known.
I think it's just 1 or 2 countries left too.
Correct. Yes. So what an achievement to be able to counter polio. But it does so many other things. It works around the world in helping people be able to have clean water, and it works on environmental stuff, and conflict resolution. There's a peace pole project.
Is in the Interact Club. I think it's is it in every high school throughout the country, or tell people?
I'm not sure about every high school, but it does have youth programs. The Interact program for young students to get exposure to leadership opportunities and to become part of projects, community related projects or international projects. It's a great experience. One of the ones recently done, and I have to say thank you again to you, Roberta and Jerry and Camille, for helping support this was the RILA program, which is, you know, a youth program over, you know, a number of days. You know, regrettably with the COVID thing, it had to be done remotely this year, but it's, you know, there's been great feedback from students that have participated in that program. We had the good fortune to have 5 students attend this year. So there's a number of things, not to mention that there's a bunch of very, very local projects that go on every year, and you know, a little bit of a slowdown last year with the COVID effect, but we have every intention of trying to meet all of the projects that we have traditionally done here in Sharon. So
yeah. One of the kids that just came back, is out of the 5, and I think all 5 are going to go to the Rotary meeting. But this particular girl wrote, we developed and improved our leadership skills through various exercises and activities. And one of her favorites was public speaking, where they were given 10 minutes to write a speech and then present it to the group. They didn't have any time to practice, nothing, but they spoke on the spot. And then they watched things where people live around the globe for under $1 a day, and talked about all these many things they did in such a short time. And you can see how it changes the difference. We used to have some kids who came back and said it changed the way they looked at the other students, because here they were from a small school, and they didn't realize, you know, that when they pass people in the hallway who aren't their friends or anything, that they might be different from them, but yet they're not. You know, take a little interest in your other person. And another kids that came back said, what was the most important thing in leadership? And they said, to listen. It taught you how to listen. So really, it's a wonderful, wonderful organization, I think. But because of COVID, they did it over the internet, which is amazing. And I know RILA is all over the world too. The what does it stand for? Rotary Youth Leadership Award, is it?
I think so. I always forget what the A stands for, but Rotary Youth Leadership Award. And yes,
Some of our kids that have gone there, Camille will tell you too, it brings them out. It brings
yes,
them out that they start to become leaders. They start to become leaders, and all of them that went there are really doing very well in college and graduated college. I mean, we get them young.
and I mean, it's a life-changing experience for most of these kids. And one of the first interns that we had, who was rather on the shy side, went to RILA, and he came back a different person. And he was very reluctant to speak out. And after that, we noticed a change. And a lot of these kids have said the same thing. It does change them in positive ways.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful? And I think we're going to start winding up. Um, that time went by fast. I didn't know if I told you it'd go by fast, but it did. But we have a few more minutes, and Camille usually closes, and then we usually go over. But we try to
Yeah.
keep the time. We try to keep the time to a half hour.
How much time do we have left, Roberta?
We got about a minute.
Oh, well, okay. I think I'll wrap it up then.
You
So,
can say a lot in a minute. Dawn, is there
yeah,
anything you want to tell us? We're going to be doing podcasts and. Uh,
if I can just mention a couple like local things that we're going to work on this year, if
Sure.
that's all right.
Yeah,
So whenever you're
go.
ready.
we just have about less than a minute, so we'll have to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We good? Okay. So as I mentioned, that there's a lot of local efforts that are going on. One of the things about the Rotary Club here in Sharon is that our 80th anniversary is this year. So we're hoping to have a celebration dinner gathering for that. The Gifts of Hope project is planning to be conducted again. We're going to bring back the Thanksgiving dinner for seniors, as long as there isn't any limitations around the November period.
That's good.
So, Sharon Day is coming up. We're working to collaborate with other organizations like the Lions Club. So we're always looking for other opportunities to help and do things in the community, and we welcome any interest or information. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
thank
so
you.
with
Yeah.
that, thank you to our audience.
Don't you
Thank
have a
you,
poll
Don.
project too? The
The what?
Rotary has a poll peace project. They're putting up polls.
Peace Poll Projects is an international program. Yes. So we're looking to see if we can, represent a peace poll here in Sharon somewhere. So there's a committee working on that now.
Okay,
We'll
we
look
can
to-
start over.
All right. Thank you, Don Williams. And we hope that we'll have you back sometime. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. If you have any other questions or want to know more, please send us an email and we'll be happy to connect you with Don. And thank you again for watching. Please be sure to let us know if you have any other ideas for topics that are relevant today and tomorrow. Thank you all, and
Remember,
goodbye from the law, your money, and you.
you.